Okay, perfect. Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're coming in from. I'm just really thankful to be here. I appreciate you all joining this. These have been some deep sessions. I've been tuning in. So this has been really great and thank you, Girl Geek Elevate for having me. So we're gonna get into some real talk. These are troubling times. These are trying times. There's chaos everywhere. So we're going to get into some real talk. So lost your identity along with your job? Like, is anybody going through that or know anybody who is going through that? The job market is bananas right now. I've gone through that. And so today I just want to talk to you about three hard truths I've had to learn and I've had to deal with that's helping me find me and move me on to my next phase of life after losing so much. So I'm Coy Rivers. I have more than 20 years in tech, finance, and healthcare. I'm a global marketing and communications leader. I'm a leadership coach. Several years ago, I was awarded with the 40 Under 40 in business and leadership. I'm a nonprofit board director, award-winning content creator, community leader, and title after title after title after title. I can go on and on and on. But what does that really mean? So let's be clear. I'm not saying that we should not celebrate our accomplishments, our achievements. We should not be celebrating our promotions. We should not be tooting our own horns. Toot your horn, because if you don't, who else will? We need to do that. I preach that daily to the women that I coach. So it's very important to do those things. But what's happening here when we're leaning so heavy or wrapping our identity into these things? This is not who I am, but what I do. So this is where the rub can come in. Let's see. So what happens when that bubble bursts? When that bubble pops? When you are no longer that title, when you are no longer that career, when you are no longer any of those things that you've been hanging your hat on. When that bubble pops metaphorically, spiritually, physically, emotionally, financially, mentally, what happens? Who are you now? Your identity has been so wrapped up into these outward facing, fleeting things that we struggle to realize who we are, who we really are. And those are the hard truths I want to talk to you about today. I'm going to give you three of them. And it's just something that I want you to think about when you're going through life, career, any transitions. These are some hard truths that you really need to think about. And this is one quote here by Mary Oliver from her book Upstream that I love. And it's, you must never, ever give anyone else the responsibility for your life. It's up to you. Wherever you take it, whatever you plan to do with it, it's up to you. You should never give anyone else that much control, any job, any career, any financial situation, that much control over where you want to go next. So, hard truth number one, shake and stir. So I mentioned that I've gone through a little bit of chaos recently. So the past 120 days have been wild. I lost my mom unexpectedly. A few weeks later, I lost my job somewhat unexpectedly. And, this career and this life that I had been building for myself for the last 25 years was gone because it was wrapped up in my identity, in a career that I had been building, in these ladders I had been trying to climb, these titles I was chasing. The next thing, milestone after milestone after milestone after milestone. And so when those things were taken away, I was left with what? So this shaking and this stirring and this sorting of my life is necessary because it's going to lead me, or it has been leading me to the next phase. So here are a couple of things that I really want you to understand about enjoying the shake and stir, because I think you need to enjoy this. You need to sit in it. You are dispensable. Now, I'm not saying that to be mean or rude or oh, if it happened to me, it could happen to you type of thing. I just want to be real with you. Sometimes we think that we're indispensable in our careers, in our jobs, in our families, in our community, and in our whatever it is, but we're not. And I think just as long as we can get clear about that, we're setting ourselves up for our next steps always. We're being prepared. We don't ever have to get ready because we're staying ready. Once you are good with that idea, just sit in it. Sit in whatever emotions come to you from that. Anger, fear, uneasiness, whatever it is, you just need to sit in it. You have to be present in whatever it is that you're feeling, because that's the only way you'll experience the awe and the wonder of what's next. That's the foundation of mindfulness, right? Being present, being curious. We've got to do that. And that only happens when we're sitting in it. And then lastly, you get to choose how you react or respond. Whatever your next step is going to be or not, you get to choose that. So sitting in that and being comfortable with that shake and stir is very necessary. The next hard truth, shed and release. So after you've gone through this stirring and this shifting and all of these things, you are now shedding the things that are no longer important to you, the things that are maybe no longer serving you. Maybe it is that title, maybe it is that job, that status, these expectations that maybe you didn't even place on yourself, maybe someone else did. You can begin to shed those things. We all have the same 24 hours in the day, 7 days out of the week, 365 days of the year. What we do with that time is what counts. How intentional we are with that time is what counts. And it's up to you. So I am encouraging you, when we're going through this shedding and releasing, be selfish with your time, your energy, and your expectations. It's yours. You need to be. It's up to you. And then you get to decide what you're willing to accept versus what you expect for yourself. One of my most favorite quotes by Rumi, a poet from, I believe, the 14th, 15th century, is life is a balance of hanging on and letting go. What are you hanging on to? These are the things that you expect for your life. Those are the things you want to hang on to. The things you want to let go of are the things you're no longer accepting. Those are the things that no longer serve you. So get real intentional, again, and selfish about your time, your energy, and your expectations. And then you start to realize what's important to you and what's not. And then you can shed and release. Someone give me a nod, a reaction, a chime in the chat to let me know I'm not alone here, because this is something I'm going through, and I would love to know if this is resonating. The third hard truth here is, now that we've stirred and we shook and we've done all those things and we've shed, now let's just take a deep breath, ground ourselves, because oftentimes, so many times, and we hate to hear this, we have to step back before we can move forward. It's just a fact of life. But guess what's so beautiful about taking that step back before we move forward? We become grounded, we become aware, we become intentional, and now we are most supported in our step forward. So, analogy. I recently became a certified yoga instructor, which has been an amazing transformation for me. Again, something that's come from this shifting and stirring and this shedding of who I thought I was. And I've stepped into a new purpose for my life, which has always been my purpose of serving and encouraging, uplifting, and inspiring others. And I'm doing that through yoga. So one of my favorite poses has always been Warrior Two. Before you can get into Warrior Two, there's something you got to do first. Two things you have to do first. You have to breathe. You have to take a deep inhale. You've got to ground yourself, cement your feet into Tadasana, or mountain pose. That is the very basic stance. You've got to ground yourself. You sink your feet into the ground, cement yourself. Then you do what? You take a step back, because you've got to prepare yourself for that big step forward to get into that great pose. Before you can advance, You've got to do those things. And then once you're there, it's such an amazing experience. And you can go into these different poses and all these different asanas that you love, that you want to do. But guess what? There are so many of those things, or so many of those asanas where you first have to breathe, cement yourself, ground yourself, take a step back to prepare. That's what we have to do in life. After you've gone through this stirring and this shifting and this shedding, you know you want to move forward, but take a minute, breathe in, ground yourself. Now you are prepared, you are ready, you are aware, and you are most supported, ready to take the next step. And guess what? You can wrap them up in these R's. You've rebounded, you've reset, you've rebuilt, you've restored. Now you're renewed. So now you're prepared to chart your new path. You've stirred and you've shifted and you've done all those things. You've shed, you've thought about it, you've grounded yourself, you've taken a step back, you've thought about what you need to do to move forward. You've given yourself grace and space. All those things are required. Now let's try this again. I've done all these things. I've done all these steps. That's how I can write them out for you to encourage you to do these things. Now I want to tell you who I am today. How I presented myself a few slides back, that was Koi 120 days ago. I was wrapped up in that resume, those bullet points, all of those achievements and accolades. I've done all those things. That's great. That's what I did. That's not who I was. So now I'm far more aware of who I am. I'm Koi Rivers. I'm a woman of faith. I'm a giver of life. I'm a lover of all things green. I am inspired and I inspire others. I am ever evolving. I am light. I am built to last. And guess what? More and more and more and more and more to come. Now, this is about my values, right? I'm no longer wrapping my identity in fleeting things, externally facing things or expectations I, had, others may have had of me, or I'm doing to get to the next thing. Now, who I am is wrapped up in my values, and they all stem from my favorite F words. I'm going to drop some F bombs: faith, family, fitness, and fortitude. Everything that I do and who I am when I think about myself have to ladder up to those values. Those are my 4 top values: my faith, my family, my fitness, my mental fitness, my physical fitness, my emotional fitness, my financial fitness, all of it wrapped up in that. And finally, fortitude. I am built to last. Nothing's going to break that down, right? Of course, we go through all the shifts and turns and all of those things. But as long as you remain grounded and go through those three steps and really understand those 3 hard truths, you will get to it. So I encourage you to try this, try this exercise. I actually did. So when someone asked me, tell me about yourself, who are you? My inclination first was to say, oh, I'm Koi Rivers. My job. And I'm like, oh, I don't have that anymore. Who am I? What do I say? You know what I led with? I'm a woman of faith, because I've had to lean on that these past 120 days like never before. That was the first thing that I said. I'm a woman of faith. And all of these other things. And that led to one of the most fascinating conversations I could have ever had, that I would have never had I said, oh, I've been in global marketing for 20 years and I, sit on all these boards and I'm the president of this. And those things are true, but it's not who I am. It's what I do. So I encourage you to try it. You can find me. I'm on LinkedIn. That's kind of where I live. I'm not really on any other social platforms. I'm there, but I'm not active. But LinkedIn is where you can find me, Koi Rivers. You can head to my website. It's movementnow.com. Or you can hit me on email, koi@movementnow. Looks like we may have a few minutes for questions if anyone has any. I can check the chat. Just reading some of the comments. Yeah, let me just tell you, loss is such a big topic right now. But let me tell you, there is so much to gain in the midst of loss. And I know that sounds strange. Who could think I could gain something from losing my mom? Who would think I'd gain something from losing my job, something that I really, really cherished and I found value in and gave me stability and financial freedom and all of these things I thought were important and that I valued. But losing those things gave me a different purpose for life, for what life means every day, and enjoying it every single day. Losing a parent will really put things into perspective for you. So much has been gained in these 120 days that have been priceless. So I just encourage you to really think about those three hard truths and for yourself, if they resonate with you, and just do that work. 10 minutes and just really think about it. And I promise you it's transformative.